Portmore after 36 years of not having a representative from the Jamaica Labour Party being elected to sit in the House for Portmore. 36 years, you know. So I mean, listen, that's love and blessings to my Portmore family for having put that kind of trust in me. So it's been an honor to help them in terms of developing community. Education is a big platform of mine. You know, we have one of our primary education programs is our Terrelonge Award for Excellence, which we give to the top 10 students from all our primary schools, right, the top 5 students in the basic school, top 10 students in our high school, and so forth. You know, I mean, working with the elderly, working with our youth, you know, to create sporting opportunities, recreational opportunities as well. So it really has been a blessing.
So you've been MP now for what?
7 years, 2016, 2023, 7 years now.
Second term MP.
Second term MP on the ground and doing what I need to do to ensure.
So you came in in 2016 when the JLP was not really, didn't win by a big margin. You're one of the chosen ones.
We came in on the 1 seat majority.
So your seat caused us to win the college.
Listen, and I tell you what, the people of East Central St. Catherine caused Jamaica to be on this path of growth, development, and prosperity, you know. So big up Andrew Holness, big up the people of East Central St. Catherine. It was the seat that nobody thought we could have won. Very few persons thought we could have won that seat. You know, Andrew Wheatley, for example, Prime Minister Holness, but very few thought we could have won it simply because historically it always sat with the opposition, but East Central proved them incorrectly. So and we've been developing the community, this constituency since then.
So you have left the Ministry of, well, the name long. Gender, correct me if I'm
Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport. Yes.
What were you doing there?
So in that ministry, I worked with Minister Granger across all major portfolio areas. So, for example, culturally, I would say one of the biggest highlights since then, you know, notwithstanding, you know, Grand Gala was a huge success. So working with the team for Grand Gala for Jamaica 60.
Don't take it for granted, you know, that everybody knows what Grand Gala is.
All right, so Grand Gala is our big independence celebration.
That's what happened at the stadium.
That is at the stadium in August, right, when we celebrate independence inside the stadium, and I mean it was amazing.
So
with the drone show.
Jamaica 60 something.
Yes, a part of Jamaica 60, a part of the celebrations, helping to put the program together. You know what I mean? And it was phenomenal.
Yeah, drones.
We had drones inside the stadium, you know, doing the Bob Marley, doing the Usain Bolt, Louise Bennett. I mean, it was a cultural extravagance. And simply for us at that ministry, we believe that culture is the heartbeat of Jamaica, you know, and culture has ripples effects. So even through foreign affairs and foreign trade, even through tourism, everything links back to culture, which includes sport, which we love to say in that ministry. Sports is physical culture. So that was a very big achievement for us, you know, I mean, providing, you know, millions of dollars in terms of care packages to our cultural and creative artists, you know, during the COVID pandemic.
So let us stop there.
Sure.
So you're saying that during COVID, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sports provided millions of dollars in care packages to artists.
Resources, yes, money to artists. They applied for the grant, and those
but
that
nobody knew. Nobody.
You might people know about it. The artists know. See, our producer right here is nodding on it because yes, persons from Love 101, you know, were able to benefit from the grant as well. Artists across Jamaica, entertainers, performers, were able to apply for it.
Saying that we don't support the entertainment industry, though.
No. Our entertainment practitioners know that we support. As a matter of fact, if you look at one of our young rising star, Valiant, you know, Valiant himself calls Babsy Auntie-Babsy. That shows the level of support that we give to our entertainers. We celebrated Minister Granger's birthday this year. I mean, you know, Beanie Man was there. Tammy, Wayne Chin, and others came through just to say happy birthday.
But Auntie Babsy is a real, I don't know, she's a giant. I mean, I don't know how she does it. Like she visits almost every entertainment event. How does she sleep?
It is, you know, it is what we do at that ministry. It is 24/7. It is non-stop. We make sure we support all our artists. You know, I mean, one of my, you know, I mean, I remember when Kabaka Pyramid, you know, having discussions with him about his Grammy Award and, you know, congratulating him on that. You know, I mean, when Yaxter was doing his album launch, again, just to reinforce, you know, artists who are doing positive music, you know, I mean, Proteges, concert at Hope Gardens, you know, I mean, so we're there.
So you guys supported all of these things.
Yeah, but we go, we support, we speak to them. I mean, you know, of course, and we encourage the music business because, again, you know, when you speak about reggae is a global trademark for Jamaica. Everywhere I go in the world, as far as Jordan, as far as China, I mean Trinidad, it doesn't matter where you go. It is, oh my God, he's Jamaican. Look at his locks. It's reggae. It's Bob Marley. It's one love.
Yes.
I just got back from the United Nations, and the warmth that ambassadors from around the world would have greeted me, recognizing that he's Jamaican, he has locks, he represents that message, that very essence of Bob Marley and one love.
So other than the grant we gave to the artists and the entertainment sector during COVID, what are some of the resources available? Because I know you're coming from there. So, so you can tell us, what are some of the resources available to local entertainment and music and culture professionals in Jamaica?
Our first thing I would advise him, get in and register. We have a registry at the MACJES, Ministry of Culture. So we know you go online, you register. If you have any difficulties, you can call the ministry.
So there's a website.
There's a website that's up. I can't tell you the name right now, but you register. You can call the office. You can ask for Director McDaniel. You can ask for Director Benin, and they will assist you if you need help in terms
of
registering.
Registering the ministry now as a database to say that you are an entertainer.
Yes, we have a database with our list of entertainers, and that this is how you apply for grants as well. Because we know who you are. Grants? In terms of financial grants, if you want exemptions,
so you guys give financial grants to artists and so on?
We give financial grants. We help them if they're having a show and they need an extension of time. We assist them with that application, to the local government and to the police officers as well, to give them an extension of time for an event. In Jamaicans, you tell them that it's 10 to 2, but they're going to come at 1, expecting to go to 4. But I mean, it's one of those cultural things, but we do assist them. We have JCDC. I mean, JCD is our premier cultural agency. JCD does a lot in terms of training, workshops, helping to promote events, just keeping Jamaica's culture alive.
Let's say I'm a producer.
Yes.
And I want to bring in some equipment to set up or to upgrade my studio. From time to time, people from Europe come and they record music in my studio and locals record. How can the ministry help me with that?
All right, so ministry would be able to assist you in terms of applications for a waiver.
So you can get a waiver for bringing in equipment?
So it depends on the kind of show that you're going to have, etc. And or also the kind of work that you're going to be doing. So if you can show us, let's say, for example, it's charity, it's going to be beneficial to this community. This is what we're doing. We're using music to help uplift persons in the city communities, music as a means of stopping crime, that sort of thing. So it's an application that can be made, but again, come to us so we can assist you.
So you can get waivers from
some things. Also, you can get technical support in terms of setup, know-how, connections, because again, we have a global network. From America all the way back to Africa to China, it's a global network that we can assist you with in terms of contacts, it's networking. So at JCDC, of course, we work closely with, like JIPO in terms of intellectual property rights, JAMS, Jamaica Music Association, and other bodies as well, just to ensure the integrity and authenticity of our reggae music. Again, for us, it's the heartbeat of the culture.
So there's another aspect to the ministry that I wanted to touch on, and it is the cultural aspect. I mean, everything is culture.
Yes.
But the traditional cultures, I know you guys spend a lot of time with the JCDC and trying to preserve culture. I remember I was in Maroon Town a couple months ago with Auntie Babsy, and she came and we heard about the whole the rebellion that took place there, and the role that the Maroons were playing, and the role that the former enslaved people played in bringing us freedom. How did the ministry that you were a part of assist cultural groups like the Maroons, like descendants of the enslaved in particular, free communities? How do you assist them?
All right, so let me just, before I answer that, let me just indicate also, when we speak of entertainment, it's the full gamut. So for example, the National Gallery is there, to provide aid and assistance to up-and-coming artists. So it's like visual, there you go. So it's visual artists, it's performing art, it's performing artists as well. So it's the full gamut. We also have our creative industries at the ministry, and we have a creative expo every year. and we get the best and the brightest in terms of technician, art, craft, jewelry, modeling, whatever the genre of creativity is.
Right.
And we do this. We give scholarships as well to young Jamaicans, so that they can help to hone their skills with professionals
in entertainment,
in the creative sector. Yes, there's the full gamut. So if you, for example, if lighting and production is your thing, is your passion,
on the stage and take pictures and shoot movies and those.
There you go. We have, for example, John has worked with like the likes of Beyonce and international stars, and these are some of the persons that we have, speaking at summits, creative summits for the young persons so they can understand, and we help them with assisting in terms of whether internship or scholarship or something so they can hone their skills. So it's a lot of things we're doing within the creative space. Culturally, and I have to say, Jamaica's culture, based on the work that we have been doing at the ministry, has been so far-reaching that when the United Nations, when the Secretary General Guterres of the United Nations came to Jamaica, he was keen on seeing cultural sites. So you speak about the history of enslavement and the spirit of our people, that kind of resilience. And in my discussions with the Secretary General from the UN, we took him to Seville, which is a major heritage spot for us in Jamaica. And he remarked that, Jamaica has truly invaded the world with its culture. So we work with the Maroon groups. Again, it's supporting their festivals. It's highlighting the history. It's speaking about issues such as reparations, and you perhaps would have seen the videos, again, speaking at the United Nations about reparations and its importance to us as a Caribbean people, as people in Latin America and the Caribbean generally, what it means to us, the descendants of people who were enslaved. So there's that reparations push as well. There is also...
But before you move on, so I know that the ministry has been at the forefront of the reparations debate.
Yes.
A lot of people may not understand why this conversation is important. And I would love for you to encapsulate why should we care about reparations?
Okay, so we must care about reparations simply because the things such as racism and anti-blackness and discrimination were birthed by the enslavement of our people. We have to recognize as well that former colonizers, oppressors of our people, they benefited tremendously. They built their societies on the backs, the blood, the very sweat and lives of our forefathers. So these great societies in England and France and across Northern Europe, what we call the global north derived its wealth from the global south, which is us, the former colonies. And so our societies were greatly devalued because they literally raped the society of its wealth to develop their societies, and they've left us as developing states. And so reparations is important because they need to give back. They need to put back into our societies what they robbed from us. When you look at issues such as, for example, homelessness. So I grew up in Grandspen. People would call it a ghetto. I don't like the word because of what it connotes.
But people say you're uptown.
No. From Grandspen, 1-bedroom boardhouse. You know what, Nesta, and sorry, Robert, this is wrong name. You know, Mr. Morgan, please don't kick me off the show. Right? But on a serious note, though, sometimes I see people tweet, and I don't get engaged with the more than English. It's English, Spanish, French, several other languages. But seriously though. When I see people message like, MPs and them pitting and go to school in Jamaica and them fly out and them pitting and go to hospital, etc. All of my children go to school in Jamaica. Yes. When they're sick, listen, I have to sit down, either myself or my wife, we have to sleep on the little bench, seeing me up on you, we ward 14, 15, 16. I mean, I know those words because to sleep on the bench if our child is in the hospital. And you have to wait there, whether he's there for 3 days or 4 days. I mean, one time I was away in Kenya, and 2 of my sons caught dengue, and they were both in hospital. And my wife and my mother.
Them on the private jet and
we can't afford a private jet. And $300,000 and some $1,000 a month. What private jet? But even then, that sort of luxury is beyond me. And even if I could have afforded it, I have faith in the hospital sector. What Dr. Tufton and this government have done to revolutionize healthcare in Jamaica, right? The truth is not being told. And at some point, we have to move beyond the hypocrisy and beyond the politicking and accept that Jamaica has moved a far way from 2016 to 2013. So, yes,
So you're from Grandspen? I just want to confirm it because
never born uptown,
I have seen so many comments that this young man is from uptown and him born at gold spoon in his mouth but I'm also from a very rural community, and
yes.
I see people on social media saying I come from uptown. They don't understand when we have to eat rice and butter alone.
Rice and butter, white flour with butter, because sometimes you never have the tin and mackerel, so you have to just eat the flour with the butter and everything else. My mother sold at the market, the Tivoli back market, for over 20 years. That sent me go Halfway Tree Primary, sent me go Campion, and it sent me go law school. My mother sold panty and brassiers inside the market. My father was a police officer. Yeah, and when he left the police force, he bought a bus and he drive him on a bus. So sometimes my brother and I during the summer we used to conduct. What I mean, yeah, man, them time that the bus was going from Harborview to downtown, and we are conduct on the bus. Fear, small up on yourself, One already. Schoolers, go down at the back. You know, so we've been there. I mean, going to the Falmouth market with my mother, we'd leave from a Tuesday night during the summer because we have school. So my mom prioritized education. So my mom taught us, if you want good, you know, it's a for run. You know, so I mean, mommy, daddy, big up on yourself. And I should have sent them the link so they could have watched this. But mommy, you catch on the replay. You know, and going to Falmouth market, we leave from Tuesday night. And on Wednesday, we'd be in Falmouth Wednesday morning, Minister. And we'd be selling selling little items, little toys for Christmas and going around doing the summer little items, running around Falmouth Market. You know, so
you know why that story is important though? And it goes back to the reparations conversation. And it's connected because look at Grandspen. Grandspen is a lower income community.
Yes.
There's a lot of poverty around there. And sometimes we ask the question, why are we where we are as a society? Why is it that we have people living on gullies? The reason why we have a lot of people living on gullies is because people never got the opportunity to buy land in Jamaica as black people.
Homelessness, landlessness.
When we were emancipated, they sent us on the rocky hillsides, places like Sligoville and other places. So the prime fertile land was never afforded. So it's not surprising then that we would have a lot of people living in places like Grandspen, places like Bakawal back in the day.
Even Gregory Park, because Gregory Park was once a sugar plantation, a sugar estate, and freed slaves, they would have moved off of the plantation side and moved into these sort of informal settlements. You know, so that's a legacy of slavery. When we speak about, I mean, here, and everybody knows, I mean, that the here issue that we face in Jamaica, and it's not because of the government. So the government has said quite clear that no one should be discriminated against, period. We both work in education, so we know what the rules are. But there are rogue individuals who believe that their personal prejudices must come to the fore. And so they take steps to disadvantage our children of their right to education, or just even within the workplace, you know, which runs contrary to government policy.
But that's something that you guys have to deal with. And all of this is just connected.
Again, of course it's connected. Systemic racism.
Right. That's something you guys have to deal with, like the whole issue of people's hair and the locking students out of school because of hair and grooming.
Against government policy, as you know.
Why is it that we like govern people here so much, though, Alando?
We like to govern people.
Is it a slavery thing?
It is slavery, because we have told ourselves that the black skin is worthless, it has no value. Skin bleaching is a legacy of slavery. It is the systemic racism, systemic anti-blackness that comes from slavery. So those are some of the things that we're saying. Listen, we have to put an end to it. We have to let people understand that the black skin, that is your crown. It is your badge of honor, of which you must never feel ashamed.
Is, to some extent, as Rex Nettleford would say, is a kind of smodification of the black man and the black woman.
Make you feel your worth. You understand your worth, you know. But at some point, we have to move beyond policing hair and policing bodies and just policing things that have nothing to do with us. You know, I mean, but anyways, different conversations.
Yes. But you were at the Ministry of Culture. And before I move to the other ministry that you were having, I want to tell the listeners that they can call in at 968-8327, 968-8328, or they can send a WhatsApp 9973125. That's 876-9973125. And you can ask Minister Terrelonge about his constituency, or you can ask him about the ministries that he has been involved in. So at the Ministry of Culture, we have, tell me about the sports section, because I know you are big on sports.
I am very big on sports, and you know, obviously, I mean, working with our athletes, you know what I mean, you know, boys champs, well, not sports champs, but, you know, but champs generally, because it's boys and girls, champs generally, working with the Carifta team last year, you know, games were held in Jamaica. I mean, listen, the Reggae girls, you know, I mean, I have to big up Big
But
up our reggae girls who are phenomenal.
Most successful the reggae girls for this World Cup are the most successful.
They are the most successful female team in the region. No other Caribbean team has had a female team going back-to-back World Cups. You know, it's completely historic, you know, for the Caribbean region. So I have to big up the reggae girls, big up the team management as well. You know, but we had badminton, regional, but the Pan Americans Badminton Championships that was held in Jamaica this year. You know, and we have at the ministry, we have positioned Jamaica as a truly global sporting hub. So when we speak about sports and sports tourism, you know, and getting emerging sports to be played right here in Jamaica, again, simply because one, climate is perfect for most sporting disciplines, and two, no visa requirement, you know, so Jamaica really can be a hub. I would say one of the biggest accomplishments for me as a minister within that ministry was negotiating with our Latin American partners and organizing the visit of President Banco, along with Minister Grange and the team to visit Jamaica. It was historic. It was the first time the president of WADA, you know, WADA is a global sporting body. Though? So WADA is the sporting body that deals with, you know, rules, regulations, policies, anti-doping, fair play, you know, so all of those policies in sports comes from WADA. So that was having him visit Jamaica was truly historic. Myself and our sporting director, Miss Ison, we were in Cartagena, Colombia, about 5-6 weeks ago. And again, truly historic for Jamaica. Again, you know, we petitioned our Latin American neighbors, you know, and Jamaica for the first time has been nominated to the WADA Foundation Board, which means Jamaica now for the first time has a role to play in what policies go out, what policies come out.
You were at the ministry.
Yes, I just got back because again, my appointment to Foreign Affairs is recent. So, I mean, again, you know, I mean, I have to say, you know, sports for me, Jamaica, it's really pivotal.
Of our size, how are we so powerful in sports? I mean, we're out playing countries similar size in football.
Yes.
In other small sports like netball, we're number 4 or 5 in the world.
We are number 3 in the world, and you know, big up to the Sunshine Girls again. For me, you know, I mean, as the government representative for the games in Birmingham last year, the Commonwealth Games, it was a complete joy. Listen, when the Sunshine Girls were playing, you know, I mean, the whole arena came alive, you know, and I mean,
did the government support them?
The government, listen, so the government, we have a grant in the ministry for sporting associations.
Right.
Some sporting associations are registered, some are not registered. Again, we encourage them all
so like the
to be registered.
Association would get money from the government
to assist. All sporting disciplines, all they get a grant from the government. You know, so football, some would say football gets the lion's share.
Right.
You know, then you have like, you know, cricket, netball, I mean, badminton. Whenever persons are having grants, they would apply.
But I thought it was said that the government did not support the reggae girls.
No, the government the government supports all our athletes. Again, associations are registered. It might be that you apply. Take, for example, we had one tournament that just finished. The organization asked for 40 million, but they got 20 million. Another organization might ask for 15 million, but they get 5 million. Again, remember that government.
It's a small cake.
There you go. It's a small cake, and half a loaf is better than no loaf.
So you guys supported the netballers in Birmingham.
We supported the netball
and helping to fund.
Yes, even Racers Grand Prix that just happened over the weekend. Government supported that. Our ministry supported that. So we support, or we recognize that sports is physical culture. We recognize that sporting is in our blood. You know, it's coming from the 1940s, and even before that, it's recognizing the legacy of our athletes. You know, Arthur Wint, Herb McKinley, the phenomenal Merlin Ottey, you know, leading to the Usain Bolt and the Shelley and Fraser Price and the Elaine, you know, and all the young, I mean, the Oblique Seville and all our young rising stars, you know, the Clayton sisters, you know, and all of them, Brianna and all of them, you know. So it's a long history, a long legacy. Where we are now is with the plans to develop the National Stadium. So again, just 3 weeks ago, I was with the Deputy Foreign Affairs Ministry from Japan.
What are you going to do with the stadium?
So, well, you know, so listen, Minister Grange and the team, we have put together a phenomenal plan for the redevelopment of the stadium. So what, you know, as a major capital expenditure.
So what would you be? So So you're gonna lick down the stadium, Alando?
It's we're not licking it down. It's more retrofitting, you know. So I mean, you know, you have to, for example, put in a proper cycle track.
Really?
All right. Yes, putting in better seating, ensuring that the grandstand. So even the stadium, how it was constructed, again, a legacy of slavery. Stadium was built in what, about 1962 thereabouts, independence.
It was before
you
that,
know?
a little bit before that.
Right. So in that colonial era. And what you find is that you have a bleachers, which is 25,000
Why do you call it
seating.
bleachers though?
Because do you mean because the people are out in the hot sun. The people are out in the hot sun bleaching.
Why you call it bleachers?
That is why the mountain of the sun are bleached. It's as if they were in the cane fields, just bleaching away, working hard,
so you're gonna
picking cane. That is the plan, of course.
So the bleachers soon gone. People going to get covering on the rainfall.
It is
Have you ever been? I was in the bleachers one day and a piece of rain come down, and I was like, I'm just going to take it to them because it doesn't make no sense.
A developed stadium requires that it is covered. You cannot have your citizens. But this government has recognized that.
Yes.
And for the first time,
so you're going to cover bleachers.
Plans are we're going to retrofit it. But Minister Grange will speak more. Will speak further on that. But certainly there are plans for that. There's a sports museum as well. You know, so when one of my last duties as minister as minister in that ministry was to again do a tour with the Japanese. We're getting technical assistance from them. So we have our local architect and we're getting technical assistance through the Japanese.
So why a sports museum though? I mean, we have all sorts of museums. What purpose will it serve?
A sports museum would serve the purpose of honoring the giants on whose shoulders, of course, Donald, giants even before them. Remember, so in the 1940s, 50s, Jamaica was recognized as, what is it that's so special about this small island of not yet 3 million people? You know, that has had them winning all these wonderful long distances, etc. on the world stage. No, we don't have a sports museum. I mean, there are we have archives and we have but not a sports museum.
It's amazing though that for a country that is so good at sports that it has taken this government to decide to build a sports museum.
There is so much that this Andrew Holness-led administration has done for this country that we don't speak about enough, you know, and you know, so, you know, segue a bit from the sports museum and the support, big up our Japanese partners, you know, arigato-san for the support that they're giving us, you know, but I must say that even when you're in the international arena, because, you know, we represent Jamaica, the people of Jamaica, our country, our government, you know, across a myriad of countries and the world over. And one of the things that has been very, very clear over the last 2 years, and people have commended the government on my travels, is what the government did in securing the economy, in securing the livelihood of the people during the worst global pandemic is phenomenal.
Right.
Jamaica's COVID action plan and the success that came from it, you know, net international reserves increase pre-COVID levels, unemployment reduced pre-COVID levels. I mean, we have one of the lowest unemployment in the history of Jamaica at just shy of 6%. You know, people don't talk about this. Not one public servant, not one teacher, nurse, doctor, public administration and all the ministries, department, agencies, police officer, fireman, the list goes on. Not one person lost their job during COVID. The government did not fire one person. The government did not say one wage freeze. This government cares about the people and has been putting plans in place to ensure the sustainable development of our country, in keeping with Vision 2030, and also to ensure the livelihood and prosperity of all Jamaicans. And we must stop the narrative, the propaganda, say the government no care and Andrew Holness this and the government this and stuff. It rained last night. It rained last night and there's a particular incident somewhere and somebody said, you know, yes, yeah, the Prime Minister fault. But we're happy for the rain. Showers of blessings.
You mentioned earlier about the grants, and I think a lot of people benefited from the grants. I know that
billions of dollars.
While Love 101, the company never benefit. I know that the staff here probably know people who have benefited, and I think it was a really good initiative by the government that even hairdressers, barbers, taxi men, a lot of people. I mean, I remember when they were giving out food packages, there were so many persons who got food packages.
Definitely.
Elderly persons who got help. You know, and even members of our sport fraternity.
Yes.
But one of the things I wanted to mention that a lot of people don't think about in terms of sports is that there's an initiative I think started by Minister Grange where a lot of athletes never had an insurance.
Yes, insurance.
In case they got injured, and you guys came up with that.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So essentially, we have, and it's a model that other Caribbean countries, and other, well, not just in the Caribbean, that they have. That they've come to Jamaica to discuss with Minister Grange and the team to see how they can copy that. So we have a sports insurance scheme in place for athletes. So if they're abroad or if they're home and there are medical difficulties, etc.,
so like
they have their injury, well, I guess injuries generally, etc., and other illnesses that would affect our athletes. They have insurance coverage that can assist.
What people don't realize, Alando, is that there's no pension in running, So when an athlete runs for 10 years, which is the average amount of time that they run, when they're finished running, unless they have invested and put aside something, there's nothing for them. So I think this insurance thing is a brilliant idea.
It was a major breakthrough for athletes, for sports in general. And similar to that, a major breakthrough in the gender sphere was when we got the requisite grants, working with our international partners. And I guess we'll come to that for the foreign affairs part of the discussion. But to get funding to build 3 shelters, 2 of which are up and running. And by shelters, I mean that. So again, there's an issue with domestic abuse in our country. And I said time and time again, the question of toxic masculinity, where men feel that them own woman and them can beat woman, them can abuse woman, and sometimes it leads to even death. So that question of intimate partner violence is something that we continue to address.
Big words, Alando, and you need to break it down for the listeners.
Which one of the words is a big word?
What is intimate partner
violence? No, I said it earlier. The domestic abuse.
So when man beat woman, woman abuse man.
And yes, we have that part of it too. But the majority is really the man have to take responsibility for that. A real man don't beat a woman. A real man understand that. You walk away, and a real man understand that. Listen, if she left you for whatever reason,
that's a big issue still in Jamaica, though.
It is a big issue because culturally we are taught that a man must, and again, this religion is a part of it too, but that's another discussion. But culturally we are taught that the woman is the property of the man, and you own her, you're my woman, and you must do what me say if I do. And if me say you can't go out or you can't wear that or you can't put on the makeup, you can't do it because me are the man. And we must stop that nonsense. Our women must have complete autonomy over their bodies. They must have that right to say whether I'm coming or going, and if I've had enough, I've had enough. What this government has done, this Andrew Holness-led government has done under the stewardship of Minister Babs Grace, is to develop shelters where women and children, if you are subject to a physical abuse inside the house, if you're tired of the man and because he might beat you or for whatever reason, you need to escape. All right, you call one of our hotlines, one of our helplines. All right, we work with the Bureau of Gender Affairs, and we can get you to a shelter.
So what if he find out the shelter?
He can't find the shelter because the shelter is secluded. Once you get there, you take your phone. We take your phone as well. You have to get maybe a new number, or if phone calls are restricted simply because it's not just your safety that you'll be compromised.
There are
other women and other children there as well.
So you've built a shelter, and I know
we built 2 shelters so far. I can't tell you where it is. Yes.
So it's women who are abused.
Yes, and their children. Yes.
And they can come there and have a nice place to sleep, and they are safe.
Yeah, man, they have a safe place. They have bed. They have 3 meals a day, and they're also learning a skill. Right. Because we recognize, listen, you said the beauty about education, Sir Morgan. The education is the best gift we can give to our children, right. And an educated mind is the best weapon you can wield. Right. So we help to empower our women to get them out of these sort of abusive relationships by teaching them skills training.
So what if I'm a man that is being abused?
You can't go into the shelter because you might go in there and you might you can't.
But there is a helpline, I think, at the gender.
No, certainly in fact, we have our males helps desk at the Bureau of Gender Affairs.
So a man who is being abused can call.
He can call. He can get counseling, get advice, and he can be told.
But something, a lot of people don't realize, Nadine, that there are men out there who are being abused as well. We saw what happened in Manchester recently.
Yes.
And we have heard of, but a lot of the men don't want to tell anybody that they're getting beaten, and they are embarrassed by it.
Yes, but so, it does exist.
we have a bigger problem with male and male and female violence. But one of the things that I think Minister has always spoken about is that no violence is good violence, whether it is to males or on males and males, females and females, or vice versa. You know, so I'm really happy that so you have a help desk for men, you have a shelter for women.
We have a Young Fathers program.
What is that?
So the Young Fathers program, we mentor to young fathers. You know, I mean, we work with them. We help them to understand, you know, I mean, the benefit of good parenting. Not just because, again, you know, a lot of men in Jamaica treat children like they're a new pair of shoes. Like, yeah, man, me get a pitney. And if you say, boy, how many children you have? Man, I have pitney. One alone have pitney. Me get a pitney. I want to know, you have children. It's not a parent, you know. There you go. It's not a parent. I mean, you're a good father as well, you know. So you understand, children it's not a pair of shoes that you just got from the store, innit? You know, you have children as well, and you take care for them. No, but it is a serious issue. You know, so we help them to be better fathers, understand their responsibilities. You're caring for another life as well. And also, we help them to understand that you want to wait. You know, no government will ever tell anybody how many children they must have. But what we want people to understand is that have the number of children that you can afford. And as best as you can, you know what I mean, live your life, empower yourself, get your education, get your job, get a nest, save up some money. When you can come out to your mother house and your father house and you have your own door key, you know what I mean? Then you can consider having children. You know, but to have a child that's 17, 21, 23, you're still uneducated, you don't have a job, you know, you're not doing the child any good at all. And we have to have these discussions in society.
So you're doing something to mentor young father, but I know you also have a program for young mothers as well.
Oh, definitely. Our Women's Center, again, you know, we work with I have to big up our international partners, you know, I mean, largely most of them through the UN, the Spotlight Initiative and so forth. You know, I mean, UNFPA, you know, who we've established great relationships with. So I have to big up the regional team and the local team as well on that. You know, but at the Women's Center, and Shell and Fraser Price is an ambassador as well that works with them. So big up for that as well. You know, but we help young moms, you know, in terms of child rearing. We help them get back to school so they get an education at the Women's Center as well. And we prepare them to be reinitiated into, some of them would probably want to go to a different high school, you know, but they go back to school.
So if you're a young lady who is 13 and you got pregnant, hopefully not.
Knock on wood, yes.
Right. You can call the Women's Center.
Yes, you can call the Women's Center and you get accepted in the programs.
Yes, you'll help you.
And you bring the baby. There's a nursery there as well. So while you're in classes there, the nursery is there. You know, and what a lot of people don't understand is that, you know, having a child has its own psychological impacts on a woman, especially young mothers as well. And I'm hoping, you know, and I'm going to say this a little controversial, but I'm hoping that at some point, you know, within this, between our schools, well, all the stakeholders, you know, school, church, parents, etc., we will have a mature discussion about comprehensive sexual education for our youngsters. Because yes, whilst there's a small component in the home family life part of the curriculum,
you mean it's teaching them how to be responsible,
yes. And if they do, because children are curious and they're going to get involved in how to protect themselves. You know, I had one young lady, minister, who said to me that she never knew she could have gotten pregnant the first time. She's 16 years old. She's pregnant. She did not intend to get pregnant, but she did not know she could get pregnant just from the first time having sex. And we might say, oh, she sound this or she sound that, but we might, you know, we don't need to get into name calling or say anything negative about her. Some people just don't know, again, based on your bringing. If you were never told something, if you never thought about human anatomy and what happens, and with the semen and the eggs and how it connects, and that's how the baby is born and everything, and what happens, you know, during intercourse, during sex, if you never thought that, you don't know. So you think that she thought that persons who got pregnant were girls who had many sexual partners. You know, so these are some of the things we need to have as a mature discussion.
We need to talk about. But Alando, I have to switch because we're running out of time. I have to switch to foreign affairs.
All right, certainly.
So what role are you playing at Foreign Affairs now?
Yeah, so, you know, Foreign Affairs is one of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is I will say, is the most dynamic ministry in the country. It is the face of Jamaica. It is the ministry that positions Jamaica on the global stage. It is the ministry that ensures our foreign affairs, our bilateral and multilateral. This basically means that our agreements with other countries are intact. It also means that we're getting, you talk about foreign investments and foreign for trade deals, etc. This is the ministry where all of that is coordinated, so it really is it's a blessing to be there.
So have you been given a specific duty as it?
Yes, I am responsible for diaspora relations. And of course, the diaspora has more than 3 million persons. So the diaspora is bigger than even the number of persons in Jamaica.
Diaspora meaning people who live overseas who are connected to Jamaica.
People who live overseas so what we call them Jamaican communities. Yeah. So whether you were born in Jamaica and you moved to foreign, or you were born in foreign but of Jamaican parents. So you have what we call first generation Jamaican, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so forth. And so the major diaspora areas would be North America, including Canada. So that's the US, Canada, and England. So you have approximately 1.2 million Jamaicans in the US. You have over 800,000 living in Canada, living in the UK, and you have about another 400, between 300,000 and 400,000 living in Canada. Then, of course, the diaspora goes as far as Japan, China, Trinidad, Barbados,
and I went to Namibia and I saw Jamaican.
Yeah, man. Namibia, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Kenya, South Africa. So the diaspora is where anywhere you find Jamaican communities, that is a diaspora. So I have been given responsibility for diaspora affairs. I just got back from New York, and let me tell you, people don't understand the work that the ministry does. When you talk about, take for example, use our students during the war in the Ukraine, it was Minister Johnson Smith and the entire team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs ensuring the safety of our students, government, ensuring that they got to the border safety, that they got close. And you were working information. Yes, so you knew our what's her name? Nadine, I think Nadine, I forget her name, our representative, our consular representative in Europe, who was shopping to get them just basic items that they would need.
I remember that very distinctly because the entire government had to start to help because a war was declared. We had students there. There was no direct flights into Ukraine.
No. Yes.
So they had to find a way to get them to a particular point.
Yes.
They couldn't take the train because there was a bombing and they were afraid they would bomb the train. And give credit to the resilience of Jamaican students.
Yes.
Because they came together, they formed teams. And yes, there were issues. There were persons who were saying whatever, but at the end of the day, we were able to get every single Jamaican
safely.
Safe.
Yes.
And I think that's the amazing thing about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A lot of the work that it does. Not many people know that they process thousands of passports every year at the various consulates and missions. Not many people know that a majority of the issues that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs deals with are private. Somebody gets in trouble overseas. They don't want anybody to know them business. So we can't even come out and say, well, we help this person and that person. Yeah. So a lot of the work that the ministry does. So how do you think you're going to have an impact in bringing the diaspora closer to Jamaica?
So we've already started. So by the
way, before you answer that, I need to ask you a question.
Sure.
Vicky is asking, good morning, Minister. As you speak on abusive, my question is, why is it that the police don't take domestic violence serious when persons go on report? And why is there a stigma attached to men who are abused by a woman? That's Vicky. Thank you, Vicky. Alando?
All right. Thank you, Vicky, for that question. What I will say is that over the years, there has been a change in culture, at the police station. So I would say that, our present commissioner and his team of, senior superintendents, etc., and all the way down to, our concept of police, several persons have undergone training, sensitization programs, again, working with the government, working with the ministry, working with our NGOs, our bilateral partners as well, to get training to understand the importance of domestic violence, the severity of it, and that every woman should, in fact, be protected under the law. So we understand that the problem the police face, and we have to call a spade, is that sometimes when somebody goes to the police station, the police will take the report, and when the police is following up with the report, some persons now say, okay, I don't want bother prosecute it. I don't want it to go to court. Or when the police puts in the work, it goes to court, then somebody says, okay, well, I'm going to give him a chance. And something I would have seen as a lawyer as well, a case will come to court, and before the judge says or does anything, somebody says, no, me nobody want to go further, etc. But no, man, our police, they are working with our citizens. They're there to serve and protect, and they will take your complaint. They won't disregard it at all, but sometimes there's an issue in terms of the follow-up.
So before we run out of time, though, how are you going to bring the diaspora closer to us?
So again, it's a process of engagement, inclusion, and working together. We recognize the value of our diaspora. Our diaspora helps greatly in terms of trade, investment, Jamaica's growth and sustainable development. It's more than remittances. And so we want to get the diaspora together. We have the regional diaspora conference in the UK coming up. That's coming up about the 21st to 25th of June. That's going to be very interesting. Again, just liaising with some key industry players and key organizations in the United Kingdom. We've just had the engagement in New York with some of our partners there. June 16th is going to be Diaspora Day, so we're going to be celebrating that as well. So those are some key activities coming up. I'm talking a little fast now because of time, but certainly it is reaching out, let them understand that they too have a voice, that the government wants to hear from them, because they have a breadth of technical expertise that we can benefit from, as well as letting the diaspora recognize. You mentioned passports. Last week Wednesday, when I was in New York, 210 Jamaicans or persons of Jamaican descent were inside the small consulate office trying to get their visa applications processed. And even then, the work our consular officers do is not just processing visas; it's dealing with issues, as you say, issues affecting persons physically, mentally, and so forth. Sometimes persons overseas, they can't pay the rent, trouble with the law. There's questions of abuse and so forth. Our consular officers are there to help them and so forth. So it's bridging the gap, expanding the gap, recognize that there's a diaspora as well in Africa. We need to engage them more. That's the plan. Diaspora even in Latin America. You talk about Costa Rica, you talk about Colombia, you talk about Nicaragua, San Andres, you and I, yes. The people spoke patois. The people spoke patois before Spanish. Before they speak patois at home, and they learn Spanish at school. Right. Minister, 2019 we were there together,
and it was the most amazing thing. I mean, it was basically, the story goes that Jamaican fishermen used to visit, and they basically started families over there, and some of them never left.
Yeah,
and we have a large portion. I think the lady that we went to is now.
She's now Colombian ambassador to Jamaica.
Is that so?
She, Amelia Bernard.
Yes, so now you and Amelia link up again. Yes. Minister, I want to thank you very much. But before we end, do you have any last comments to those who are listening and those who are watching on TikTok? Oh, and we have a...
So what I would say to persons listening is that, the Jamaican government remains committed to ensuring the growth, development, and prosperity of Jamaica, and through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we remain committed to engaging our diaspora, including our diaspora. We know you have lots of questions. Minister Johnson Smith, myself, and the team, we are there to serve you, to make you feel as very much a part of Jamaica, to benefit from your ideas, skills, expertise, that exchange of knowledge, and of course, where we can, of course, make interventions as well to protect you. If you use we can use the Ukraine, we can use the situation with China as well with the COVID and the students there. We can use the 2018 Windrush scandal, when many of our Jamaican nationals who are British citizens were threatened with deportation, etc. And the Jamaican government had to intervene. Minister Johnson Smith was there day and night with our counterparts, ensuring that the rights of our Jamaican citizens in whatever country you live in, that those rights are protected. So it's a big task. We feel completely blessed to be taking on this challenge, etc., in service to you, our Jamaican citizens. Enough love, big up on ourselves.
And want to just end, before we end, just extend condolences to the family of Councillor Joan Spencer, who was a former mayor of Morant Bay and councillor for the Seaport Division in St. Thomas. She's a colleague. She was a friend of many of us, Alando.
Yes.
And her untimely passing has really left a void. So we just want to extend our deepest condolences to all the people of St. Thomas, her family, her friends, and her colleagues. And I want to say...
I think James is the Member of Parliament.
Yes, James Robertson is the Member of Parliament.
So condolences to you and the team as well, Sir James.
Definitely. And Alando, I want to thank you very much for joining us, for sharing the time with us on Good Morning Minister here on the family station Love 101 FM. thanks for updating us on the Ministry of, how come I can't remember the name properly? Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports.
Yes.
I got it now. And I want to also thank Nadine and her team here at Love 101 for being such good hosts for this program. And as usual, we end as we start. Nadine, it's your time again. Thanks to everyone on Facebook, everyone on TikTok.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone who is listening. Thank you, Alando. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Minister.
Yes. Turn up the music, Nadine. Let's leave.
As evil tried to stop redemption's flow, mercy said no.